This is a review on the pros and cons of wet drywall sanding. So first off, you have to know it doesn't really work. So with sanding, the goal is to get a very smooth finish that looks good. The biggest problem with wet sanding is, well, it leaves grooves. Unless you have a very, very fine fabric or fine sponge, they're going to leave grooves. And if you do use a very fine sponge, because it's so fine, it can't absorb the material, so it takes a long time. Even with a coarse sponge, it still takes a long time because every drop of mud or mortar or whatever you get on the sponge, you have to wash that out, and that takes a while. Of course, the pro is there's no dust. It also doesn't take as much energy. I know I've sanded some things for hours before, whereas with a wet sponge I could have got it done in minutes, but it doesn't leave a good finish. Because of this, I would say it works on first coats. I love doing wet sanding on first coats, especially when it's small. When it's a big scale, with experience I can now mud it well enough that it doesn't take too long to sand. So it's not very efficient for me to do wet mudding or wet sanding on a big scale. You can try it, but I would still say it would take as long, if not longer, than the normal sanding methods. The one thing I must say though is a lot of times when I mud, I might accidentally leave one big glob, and it would take a while to sand that down, whereas I can do it really quickly with like a wet rag. So I usually do have a wet rag nearby and a bucket of water when I'm doing a project. The things you can use are sponges, towels. Burlap works very well because it's very coarse. And then there's a lot of foam sanding blocks to use for normal sanding. People get those wet and sand with them. And at the end of this video, a playlist will show up on the screen, and that'll bring you to a playlist that shows you how to wet sand and a lot of other people's reviews and just giving you examples of how to do it. And that's what they say works best. I've done that before, but I get annoyed with it because it gets globbed up and then it takes longer to sand, and I don't like it. My favorite part of it, and the reason I've tried it, is because I get just tired of sanding normally for hours on end, and it's fun. It's a fun change. It's convenient as well. Sometimes when I'm working on small projects, I don't want to have to go and find my sanding pads, but I can find a rag in the kitchen or even a sock. But give it a try. It on small scale doesn't hurt trying. It works great for the first coat. Just go out and try it, and you'll have a great time. In the description below, there's a link to this type of sponge. Now, this is a tile sponge, so it's a little more expensive. But if you're going to get a sponge, you might as well get something that's going to last. And I assume if you're doing your own drywall, there's a good chance in the future you'll do your own tile. It holds a lot more, it's a lot more durable, and it'll save you time. Now, if you click on the link, I will make money. I don't want to lie to you guys. But I know you can do it. Go try it out and have fun.